help celebrate, but don't, for the kids, don't let your parents say, this is what you're getting for your birthday. I know that trick. As Sandy said, these folks have been great friends for a long time. Many of you were here when I was still running for president. For Senate, even better. I think at the time, we understood there were enormous challenges that the country was facing. That there were problems that we had been putting off for decades. But I don't think we fully grasped, at least in 2007, the full magnitude of the challenges we were going to be facing. We've now gone through the worst financial crisis and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. So for most of our lifetimes, we've never seen anything like what we've seen over the last 2.5 years. And I think you may remember that on Inauguration Day, when it was already becoming apparent we could see the clouds on the horizon, Lehman's had already happened, I warned people my election was not the end. It wasn't the end of the journey. It was the beginning of a journey. And it was going to be a tough journey. Because not only did we have to stabilize the financial system and get the banking system working once again, not only did we have to make sure that we yanked ourselves out of the Great Depression that could have happened had we not intervened, and not only did we have to take emergency measures like save the U.S. auto industry, but even after we did all that, we were going to have to tackle some fundamental structural problems that were preventing ordinary people, were preventing middle-class families from thriving and prospering and achieving the American dream. And we talked, when I was running, about what some of those challenges were. We knew that we were going to have to create an energy policy that would not only free ourselves from dependence on foreign oil, but also start changing how we think about the planet and how we think about climate. We knew that we were going to have to make sure that we changed our healthcare system that was broken, leaving millions of people without health insurance and leaving folks who did have health insurance less secure than they needed to be. We knew that we were going to have to get control of our federal budget, but do so in a way that ensured that we could still make the core investments in infrastructure, and basic research, and education that are so vital for us winning the future. We knew that we were going to have to not only put more money into our education system, but we were going to have to revamp it so that not just a few of our kids are prepared for the 21st century, but all of our kids are prepared for the 21st century. So we knew that we had all these incredible challenges domestically. And then overseas, we knew that it was unsustainable for us to continue 2 wars and to think that the only way that we were going to be able to project American power around the world was through our military. And we had to remind ourselves that diplomacy and the power of our example and the power of our values ultimately was going to make more of a difference in terms of how influential we are around the world. Well, I'm back to report to you, my stockholders. In the last 2.5 years, we've stabilized the economy. We've ended the war in Iraq. We are on a pathway to bringing our troops home from Afghanistan. We have decimated Al-Qaeda and killed bin Laden. We have made sure that by 2013, as long as I get a second term, that we are implementing a health care reform package that will provide 30 million people with health insurance and make the entire system more efficient and more effective. We have signed into law everything from making sure that every woman and every young girl who's thinking about a career is going to make sure that she gets paid equally for equal days for an equal day's work. We ended Don't Ask, Don't Tell because we don't believe that anybody who wants to serve this country should be prohibited because of who they love. We passed some of the toughest financial regulations in our history, including making sure that consumers are finally getting the protection they deserve. We made sure that despite constant battles with Congress, that we continued to make progress on the environmental front, and some of it we did administratively. So we made sure, for example, that for the first time in 30 years, we are doubling fuel efficiency standards on cars and trucks and heavy trucks, which will reduce carbon in our atmosphere and actually save folks money, over the course of their lifetimes. So we've done a lot, but here's the challenge I have for all of you. We've got so much more work to do. Yes, we stabilized the economy, but at a level where the unemployment rate was way, way too high. And we still have all sorts of international challenges that we're facing, from Europe to Asia. So we're still going to have to do a lot to restructure our economy to meet the competitive challenges of the 21st century. And that means we've got to continue to invest in cutting-edge research that enables the kind of explosion of technology that's taken place here in Silicon Valley. It means that we've continually got to revamp our education system. It means that we've got to make sure that we're rebuilding the best infrastructure in the world. And we've got to think short-term about how do we put people back to work, as well as long-term, how do we make sure that a middle class can thrive in this country again.
That's right.
And that's where I need your help. That's where I need your help. Because the fact of the matter is that too many people are hurting out there right now, and we've got to take some steps right now. So before I even talk to you about the campaign, I need your help to make sure that we get this jobs bill passed.
That's right. All right.
That puts people back to work. Every idea that we have in this jobs bill has in the past been supported by Democrats and Republicans. Rebuilding our roads and our bridges and our airports and our schools, that's not a partisan idea. That's part of what made America an economic superpower. We've got all kinds of workers out there who are unemployed because of the housing bubble burst. We can put them to work right now, rebuilding America. It'll be good for the economy now, but it will also be good for our economic future.
Right.
We need to put teachers back in the classroom. We have, even in the midst of this economic crisis, we've actually created 2 million jobs over the last couple of years. The problem is we've also lost 500,000 jobs, mostly in state and local government, and a huge proportion of those are teachers that should be in our classrooms right now. We've got to change that, and the jobs bill would put people back in the classroom where they belong. At a time when, I had lunch with the president of South Korea. I asked him, what's your biggest challenge? He says, just keeping pace with the huge demand for education. He said, our parents are too demanding. He says, they want kindergartens to learn English. I'm having to ship teachers in from foreign countries to meet the demand, because we understand that whoever wins the education battle, they're going to win the economic battle of the future. And at the same time, as that's happening, we're laying off teachers in this country. That makes absolutely no sense. We got to put them back in the classroom. This jobs bill provides a tax cut, not only to every working family in America, which will put more money in their pockets and allows them to make sure that they can buy all the great products that are created here in Silicon Valley. But it also cuts taxes for small businesses and entrepreneurs. It cuts taxes for companies that are hiring new workers or who are providing their workers raises. And it provides a tax credit for those who are hiring veterans.
Yes.
So we've got an opportunity to put people back to work right now. And by the way, it is paid for, every dime. Now, this has caused some controversy. Well, how do you pay for it? Keep in mind that it is absolutely true that we've got to have a government that lives within its means. And we weren't living within our means over the last decade. 2 wars we didn't pay for, prescription drug plan we didn't pay for, tax cuts we did not pay for. So we've already made $1 trillion worth of cuts over the course of this summer. We've slated another $500,000 in cuts, including making some modest modifications to entitlements. So we're doing our part, but what we've said is the only way we actually close the gap, if we want to have long-term fiscal sustainability, is we've also got to make sure that everybody is doing their fair share. Everybody. And that includes the people in this audience. We've got to do our fair share. And I want to be very clear about this. I mean, there are just some basic principles. You know, Warren Buffett's secretary should not be paying a higher tax rate than Warren Buffett. It's a pretty straightforward principle. A teacher making $50,000 a year shouldn't be paying a higher tax rate than somebody who's pulling in $50 million. Contrary to what the Republicans claim, that's not class warfare. This is not about leveling down. The people